Welcome to Cattle Connect, your insight into Alabama's beef cattle industry. I'm your host, Kayla Greer, and this is Cattle Connect, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Welcome back to the Cattle Connect podcast. As we are in the early stages of season 2 of the podcast, you are going to hear me talk a lot about convention because it is the biggest thing coming up on our radar. And one of the things that we have at convention as part of the schedule each year is the CattleWomen's activities. You know, while we have the Cattlemen's Association board meeting and the Cattlemen's Trade Show and all these things going on, incorporated and along with those events are the CattleWomen. They have their board meeting at the convention. They have a booth with their silent auction. There's a lot going on there, and it is all led at the helm of their president, Miss Shelby Easterling from Dale County. Shelby is a good friend. She is a great leader, and I am proud to have her in the studio with me today. Shelby, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here today.
Well, I want our listeners today to get to know you, to get to know the CattleWomen's Association, to share in your vision for the association, and maybe pick up some new information that they didn't know that might encourage them to want to join or have their wives or daughters join. So I want to start off by getting to know you a little bit. Give me your elevator speech, Shelby. Who are you? Talk about how you grew up. I mean, you kind of rose through the ranks of the association and landed where you are now through a lot of hard work and dedication and volunteer hours. And I want to hear that story from start to finish. So let everybody know who you are.
Yeah. So like she said, my name's Shelby Easterling. I live in a little small town called Blue Springs now, but originally I went to high school in Ayrton in Dale County. And I grew up there in 4-H and FFA. I served in many roles through 4-H, and then in FFA, I served as a state FFA officer my senior year of high school. Then I went to Auburn and pursued a degree in agri-science education. And after doing that time there at Auburn, I taught ag for 3 years at local high schools in Dale County.
And was an all-star teacher, I might add.
I absolutely loved it. I missed teaching so much, and I really enjoyed my time with the kids with their livestock projects and livestock judging and teaching them hands-on activities in the classroom. But now my husband and I, Kate, we have our first child, Mary Jo Easterling.
She is so sweet. She's outside the studio right now, just a snoozing.
She is 2 months old now, and we grow chickens for Tyson Foods. We have 8 poultry houses, and we grow about a 3.5 pound bird, and those birds go to KFC or Publix rotisserie type. That's the top size that we grow.
Right.
And then we also have about 50 cow-calf pairs. We just rotate those on and off the farm. We're looking at going back purebred. I grew up showing purebred Charolais and, doing a little bit of the show calf side of things whenever I was younger. But now we're just mainly cow-calf producers. And then we also have a little hobby farm of sheep and goats. We've got about 25 of each. So that's always fun to wrangle them.
No doubt. You're a hero in my book if you can keep 25 alive, because I have 3 that I struggle daily to keep alive. But you mentioned that you grew up showing, you did some showing, and you were involved kind of with the Charolais side of things. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were also a Junior Cattlemen's Association president.
Yeah. I served in, I think that was my senior year of high school, 2014. Yep. So as soon as I was old enough, back whenever Reed Blossom was the director of youth programs, he encouraged me to run for AJCA director when I was 15 years old. Mm-hmm. So I've served on the board from 15 to 18-ish. And I really enjoyed my time with the Junior Cattlemen's. I developed so many relationships with the older cattlemen members, and all of the cattlemen that are in office at the time from 15 to 18 really took us junior cattlemen underneath their wings, and we developed relationships. Like now, whenever I see Mr. Jimmy Holloman or Woody Clark, as I travel throughout the state, they just give me a big hug around my neck and ask me how I'm doing, how my family's doing. And we really just developed those relationships as they served as president of the Cattlemen's Association while I was serving as junior cattlemen's president.
Oh, I love to hear that. That's such a testimony. And I'm sitting here smiling as you're telling that story because I can just picture Jimmy or Mr. Woody walking up and giving you a hug. Our people, you guys are just so good. And it clearly makes an impact on our young people who then grow up, because that's what young people do. They grow up and continue to stay involved because of the positive impact that you guys have on their lives. And so, Shelby, before we get into the CattleWomen stuff, I would love to hear, you having been involved with the Junior Cattlemen's Association, and then you went into agri-science education. You had some students involved maybe with the Junior Cattlemen's. Now you work on the county level, working with juniors in your Junior Cattlemen's Association in Dale County. And now you're a mama and you've got your own. What's maybe some of the trends or changes or just good things that you've seen come out of the Junior Cattlemen's Association in all that time?
Yeah, so Reed has really done a great job with the juniors. I love how they come to Montgomery and have their meetings, and they really develop a strong relationship with each other as board members. I really think that I wouldn't be here if I would not have had those relationships myself whenever I was that age. So I really want to encourage, if there's any youth out there listening, get involved, get linked in with either your county. If your county doesn't have those resources, just reach out to the Cattlemen's Association and they can get you those resources to start your own chapter, or even just come to state events and you might, develop those relationships with other Junior Cattlemen's members across the state. And like I said, I really think that the Junior Cattlemen's had a lot to do with where I am today.
I love that. And to add to what you said, maybe if your county doesn't have a Junior Cattlemen's Association, maybe if your neighbor county does, maybe you can get activated with that one. Nobody says that you have to be in the association in your home county.
That's right.
There's certainly perks to it, but if that's just not a thing, then we encourage you to go find it. And so you were in leadership in Junior Cattlemen's, and you came back home. You went to college, came back home, went to the farm, got to work, and now you are president of the CattleWomen's Association, the State CattleWomen's Association. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so I actually got programmed in with the Alabama CattleWomen's Association in about 2016, 2017. They were looking for some people to help with the Alabama CattleWomen's scholarships that we give away.
Okay.
We give 3 away to senior girls at 3 shows throughout the year: the Alabama National Fair, the state show, the Junior Beef Expo, and then the AJCA Roundup.
Right.
So at those 3 shows, girls that are in their senior year of high school or either have already graduated can show in our class to win a $500 scholarship.
Very cool.
I won that scholarship at the Roundup in 2014, and Miss Mona Plyler asked me to come back and serve on that board with the scholarship board within the CattleWomen's back in 16 or 17. So
as a past recipient.
Right, as a past recipient to represent past winners. And so she asked me to do that, and I just developed a love for the Alabama CattleWomen's Association and the ladies that are involved in it. And I kind of just fell into different roles, and I'm one to not say no to anything. I'm a yes.
Aren't we all?
I'm a yes person, so I say yes to many things I probably should say no to. But I stay busy and I love everything that I'm involved in. And if it wasn't for Miss Mona reaching out to me for that purpose, after that, I had Miss B.J. Merriman ask me if I would serve on her board as a director, and it kind of just evolved into what it is today.
My name is Brad Jones, and I'm the owner of Bluff Creek Cattle Company in Wiggins, Mississippi. Beef quality assurance means being proactive instead of reactive. It's looking ahead for the things we can do to make life easier for our animals. And one way that we care for animals that people outside the industry might not know about is it's a 24-hour-a-day job. Feet on the ground, boots in the mud. We are family farming at its core.
To find out more, visit beefitswhatsfordinner.com.
And here you are, the president.
Yes.
And you serve a 2-year term as president. So you are basically at the halfway point at this moment as we head into your second convention. This will be the start of your second year as president, right? So tell us about what's already taken place, maybe under your leadership and in the association in the past year, and what's your vision? What are you hoping for maybe in the next year?
Yeah. So I started the year out last year with a theme of linked by beef, and that is kind of my story, how I share my story with people.
Think we're hearing that theme throughout this podcast already.
As we are cattle producers or beef lovers or anything that has to do with the cattle industry, we are all linked together by beef, whether it be the person in the grocery store looking at a steak at the counter,
right,
or a runner running in a marathon and they grab a beef jerky stick to get that protein. Even in the drive-thru at Burger King, somebody buying a hamburger.
Right.
We, as a producer or as a cattlewoman or cattleman, have a link to that person because they consume beef. So that's kind of my story, and it kind of gives me chill bumps as I talk about it because
it's giving me chill bumps too.
We are all linked together. Marshmallows. Some people never have would even think about marshmallows having beef in it.
Right.
And that's one of my little talks that I, like you said, an elevator speech, or if I'm sitting beside somebody on an airplane and they ask me what I do, or I ask them and we kind of discuss things on our flight. People really don't understand the whole aspect of being able to reach each other with the beef industry. It really goes a long way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you kind of had that. You came in with that platform and you're using it to tell the CattleWomen story, and I feel like you're using it to activate the CattleWomen during your term. And so what are some of the things that you guys have done? Maybe what did y'all do last year and what are you hoping to get done this year?
Yeah, so coming in, my goal was to reach one member in all 67 counties.
Okay.
CattleWomen membership has been around 250 to 300 members, and we are over the 400 point already for 2024. So going into 2025 this year, I really want to reach that 500
Oh, girl, you can do
goal.
it.
So Dr. Slayton, he encouraged me to reach 1,000, but I'm trying to be a little more level-headed.
He's a membership guy.
He is. I'm trying to have a realistic goal and do one of those like teacher goals where it's actually achievable.
Yeah, a SMART goal,
a
as
SMART
it's called.
goal. That's
the A
right.
stands for
That's
achievable.
one of those things that I used to have to teach is SMART goals, and the A stands for achievable. So I'm trying to reach all 67 counties this year. I think we were short by 7. So I
Do you
had
know the
one
7
member.
off the top of your head?
I do not have them memorized off the top of my
we could
head.
give a major shout out moment right here.
I should have looked that up before I came in here, but most of them are in the northeast part of the state and the southwest.
All right, northeast Alabama and southwest Alabama. Now is your chance to go and join in the CattleWomen's Association and help Shelby achieve her goal of getting a member in all 67 counties.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about that, I'll plug you into our new website. Miss Evelyn Green worked on our website this past year, and that's something that we've done is revamped our new website, and it's published now. So you can find out more information about our association on that website.
Okay.
Something else that we did in 2024 that was really exciting, we pushed it during October's Beef Month, is we produced a children's book that one of our members wrote. She actually wrote it back as a 4-H speech or junior cattleman speech whenever she was a young child, but now she's in college and she is in education and she had to write a children's book. So she used her speech, turned it into a children's book, and it's about beef products or beef byproducts.
Talk about the chill bumps again. Like that is such a full circle moment to think about the speech that she might have wrote for the junior roundup that she did one year in the summertime in July.
Yes.
And now it's a published children's book that we're using in our October Beef Month.
That's right.
Promotions. How awesome.
Yes, and Victoria wrote it about a little mini Hereford, and her mother Holly just shared with me that they have repurchased that Hereford, that little Hereford calf. So now they have her Ruby back on their farm, and I think they're planning on doing a little bit of promotion type things with her now in Lee County.
I absolutely love that. That's so fun. And I love that you guys are getting active in that way. I think that's such a fun way to engage cattlewomen in the state. And thinking about that, on this show, Shelby, we spend a lot of time giving props to our past and maybe taking a history moment every now and then. And maybe if you could, maybe tell us a little bit about why the Cattlewomen's, and at the time it was called the Cowbells.
Bells, yes.
Why it came to be, why it was formed as an auxiliary organization of the Cattlemen's.
Yes. So in 1953, the organization was formed, and it was the Cowbells. Mm-hmm. And in 1988, the name was changed to the CattleWomen's Association. Mm-hmm. And even back then, we were about beef promotion. Right. That was our jobs.
Right.
And more back then, they were more just on like the meat side of the promotion. They necessarily were not over like promoting in the educational side with
the production
hands-on
side,
hands-on production type things. But now we kind of cover all aspects of the beef industry. We like our 3 pillars are beef promotion, beef education, and beef legislation are our 3 pillars within the Cattlewomen's Association. So that's kind of where it was, and now where we're at now, changing with the times.
Yeah. And the Cowbells have such a rich history. Aaron and I always refer to the book, It's Great to Be Number One. Here's your plug again to go get a copy of that and read it, because there's a whole chapter dedicated to the Cowbells. Yes. And I'm sure Shelby has read it a few times through. And it's really good. And it's just the doll auctions that used to go on to raise money that would either benefit the cattlemen's or further beef promotion efforts or benefit scholarships. Those are just keynote. The Cattlewomen's Cookbook, Shelby, I wish you knew how many emails we got in this office. I'm sure you get them too, but how many emails we get asking for those Cattlewomen's cookbooks.
Yes, so that's something that we have in the works for 2025.
Oh, insider's knowledge right here, folks.
We are collecting recipes to go in that book, and we're kind of looking at it being a history book along with recipes. So
love it.
If you've ever seen like a Brenda Gant cookbook, how she has stories and a recipe, that's kind of like what we're looking at doing.
Okay. Well, that is fun.
Yeah. We hope to have it together by the end of the year.
Okay. Well, awesome. I love that. I just love to hear the things that are happening with the Cattlewomen's Association. And I know, Shelby, you're such a big part of that because you're such a galvanizer. You're a troop rallier. And I think you guys also have, I think I saw an email recently that y'all have T-shirts for sale.
Yes.
Now.
Yes. So we'll have some extras at convention that you can purchase. We did close the orders in December to make sure that we had them ready for convention, but we will order some more, and we'll have them with us at our booth at the Cattlemen's Convention. And at our booth, like Kayla said earlier, we have our silent auction, and all the proceeds from our silent auction goes to our scholarship fund. And that scholarship fund goes to those 3 scholarships that we have for the Cattlewomen, or the women's scholarships at the 3 shows throughout the year. But then we also have an academic scholarship where male or females can apply for that scholarship, and it is on the academic side of things instead of being in the show ring at a show. Yeah.
Okay.
School nights mean more than homework, books, and study. It's a moment when families gather and learn, especially about each other. And nothing sets the table for sharing like beef. Easy to prepare and easy to save for later, beef can help nourish a family growing together. Together, we bring more. Beef. It's what's for dinner. Funded by beef farmers and ranchers.
Well, very cool. Shelby, I appreciate you so much for joining us today. I encourage you all, if you've never met Shelby, come find her at convention. Like I said, she'll either be leading the meeting at the Cattlewomen's board, or she'll be at the booth, I'm sure, or just ask somebody where the cute, tiny little baby girl is, and that's probably going to be Shelby and her little girl, Mary Jo. So
yes, we will be there.
Yes, and dressed fashionably, no doubt.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit about the Cattlewomen's Association. If there's anything that you wanted to say to people listening right now, what would it be?
Eat more beef.
That's a good answer. I like that one. And if somebody, Shelby, wanted to join the CattleWomen's Association, if you've just absolutely inspired them, how would they go about doing that?
Yes, you can reach out to us on our website at alabamacattlewomen's.com, or you can send us an email at alabamacattlewomen's@gmail.com.
Okay, and I'll be sure to put that in the show description as well so you guys can click out to it. Again, thank you for joining us, Shelby. I look forward to seeing you at convention. I look forward to seeing all of you at convention too, which, by the way, is February 21st and 22nd in Birmingham, and it is not too late to register. So please visit us on our website, bamabeef.org/events, and go check out our convention website. You can register there, see the schedule of events, and we look forward to seeing you in Birmingham. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cattle Connect, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when our next episode goes live. And until next time, remember, beef, it's what's for dinner.